Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and we're going to continue off with something that I promised not too long ago. If you haven't already considered checking out the video, we did a unkillable comp using some interesting speeds that enabled our Helicath to not only do clan balls super effectively, one key baby, but also IT. Let's get into it. So, using the exact same build that we had Helicath in for our unkillable team comp for Clan Boss, my main goal was trying to get the most bang out of the buck that I could for my champions. You know, I only have one Helicath, so I wanted to get the most out of him. And I knew that there was, like, compositions that enabled Helicath to be able to go at much higher speeds than this and doing, like, you know, compositions that enabled him to do unkillable speed tune stuff to enable IT to be 100% success rate. But I was like, man, I only have one, and you know, speeds in Clan Boss are very specific, and, you know, there's not as much leeway as you would want it to be. Well, thankfully, with the tune that we did for Clan Boss, I was like, well, if we can keep it within the same range of, like, 257, then that would be ideal. And fast forward, you know, we got around to building it, and this is pretty much what you're going to see today. For Helicath, and we're going to go and do like a quick breakdown of the skills, and I can show you some of the gear and whatnot, but believe it or not, it's going to be very ezy. And truthfully, the gear sets themselves are irrelevant. It's really more so just the stats. Make sure you hit the specific pinpoints that we're looking to hit. So, for Helicath, let's get started. Helicath is going to open up with this A1, with it being the main priority in this team comp, followed up by A2. Pretty much how his AI system pretty normally handles it, but we wanted to focus and prioritize that as whenever they are available in sequence, we want to make sure that they prioritize, okay, if my A3's up, I'm using that first, right? Same thing with the A2 coming shortly afterwards. Geomancer, followed up, is going to be 181 speed. The main thing is you want to make sure he has the accuracy. So I'm right there on the money. So 555 accuracy is what you need to be able to get past the resistance threshold for IT at stage 15. So if you can hit at least 550-ish in the range of that, then you're pretty much golden here at that point, right? We do want to turn off the A2. We are going to get some decreased cooldown, so we want to make sure that whenever the available A3 is up, which is the primary bread and butter of this comp is up, we want to make sure they use it, right? So it's all about reflecting his damage through his passive. As long as the HP burn is applied by Geomancer to the enemy is going to take reflect damage. So our goal here is tank, spank, using our own enemy's DPS against them. So with that being said, we do have 3 different PKs that we're going to be showing you guys here. One at 50, one at 40, one at 30. It really does not matter their levels or defense or anything for that matter. It's literally just the speeds. And one other thing, the A2 for every single Painkeeper here needs to be fully booked, as well as the A3. So these are the 2 abilities that need to be maintained in terms of booking situations. You want to make sure they're 100% booked, right? The A1, you don't necessarily have to have it booked. I believe on some of my champions, they're not fully booked, right? I wasn't lucky with one of them, but, you know, 2 out of 3, you know, it's a little unlucky, but we'll deal with it. But Painkeeper number 1, which is going to be our fastest Painkeeper here, is at 215 speeds. That is literally the only requirement, and then it's going to be a priority of doing the A3 whenever it's up first, and then the A2 followed afterwards. The second PK, which is going to be the second fastest, is the exact same thing in terms of priority, but instead we're going to open up with the A2 instead of the A3. Followed up with our PK number 3, who is our next and slowest out of all of them, is 160 speed. Same thing as the second fastest PK, going at 160. It's going to be, you know, opening up with the A2 to delay the A3, but it's always going to prioritize the A3 first, and then followed after that is going to be the A2. Very simple, believe it or not. It's not actually that difficult at all. 257 Helicath, 181 Geo, 215 Painkeeper, 182 Painkeeper, and then a 160 Painkeeper. You can put whatever you want on them as long as you're maintaining those speeds and you set up your abilities to go in this order. You're going to have a success rate at any of the ITs. It doesn't matter if it's Void, Spirit, Magic, Force. It's going to work. So let's get into the run. I'm going to let you guys see how it sets up, but basically you're going to see a lot of speed ramping from the boss from the fact that Helicath is buffing with his A3 and his A2, so giving that extra turn meter boost. But as long as that HP burn is, we don't mind him going fast. You know, hey, let him do his thing. Let him do his thing. We're getting our resets from the PKs, which is going to enable the Geo to keep his uptime on the HP burn, as well as the block damage buff on Helicath going out to everybody. So you can bring all the debuffs in the world. We're not going to stop it. We're not going to do anything besides put the HP burn on you, put block damage on us, and let the run go. I'm going to disappear for a little bit, let you guys watch this, and we'll talk more about it once we get back. And it's as easy as that. There's not enough said. I'll go be completely honest with you. I will say, however, if you guys are looking to pick up the speeds of it, right now, roughly, my best has been 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It normally averages around like 2 minutes to 2.5, roughly around that range in terms of like the amount of time it takes to do one key. If you do want to pick up the pace of it, and I want to just make some slight suggestions as to ways that you can improve the efficiency of the team, you know, in terms of damage output. Things I would include would be like toxic sets, maybe on the slower speed DPS champions, like the level 30 PK, who's my slowest, the 160. You could probably add it from there, maybe work your way up. No more than maybe like 2 toxic sets, because you want to make sure that you have enough space for Geomancer to do his HP burn, which is the key fundamental thing about this comp. Even then, though, even if you had some overlap where, you know, HP burn doesn't have, there's no space for HP burn, the way this comp is designed is that it will infinitely keep your team going. The way that the rotations will work is that you're always going to have that block damage up at all times. So eventually you'll be able to place it back on. But at a minimum, maybe one more extra toxic set would do me well. If you notice that 2 of my champions, actually 3 of my champions, don't have blessings, so maybe some phantom touches on the Painkeepers. Of course, leveling them, getting their masteries fully done. I believe out of all of my champions here, the Painkeepers don't have any masteries besides their book. So, you know, making those min-maxing improvements, maybe in bolstering up their gear for more efficiency from a damage standpoint. would be the way to maybe squeeze out a little bit more faster times. But other than that, though, the way this composition works is fundamentally pretty much just having the speeds, having the right amount of accuracy on your primary Geomancer, as well as Helicath being able to go at a certain speed with getting these resets from Painkeeper to keep the team, you know, block damage. Things to avoid: if you don't so happen to have a Geomancer, you could use, you know, max enemy HP champions like Septimus, for example, who would probably fit perfectly well inside Geomancer slot, which may negate the need for you to have to worry about accuracy altogether. You're just going for damage at that point. The main thing, though, you want to avoid is people that would have turn meter manipulations. Like, for example, Razzlevark has his A1 gave him 15% turn meter boost. That would desync the comp. Not that you would use them in there, but, you know, to give you ideas about it. Champions that would give you extra turns, because you remember sometimes you're waiting for, like, your team to cycle through so that they can reapply the block damage buffs from, like, Helicath, and, you know, giving you extra turns like Relentless or extra turn champions like Nishak and his A3 going into, like, maybe the A2. There's potential chances that you're going to lose your block damage and ultimately making your DPS vulnerable, right? And that could desync the rest of the team, ultimately requiring you to have a failed, and nobody wants to waste their energy on failed runs, right? So just keep that in mind when you're doing your optimizing. But for the most part, I use Geomancer as he's like a quick way just to get like free damage off by just being able to place his debuff on the boss and just letting the reflect damage do its work. If you guys have any questions or comments and concerns about my build, I believe that, like, if you were to slot out Helicath, you could do Roshguard, you could do the new Owlsgore, but the speeds may vary just ever so slightly. I did do some tinkering with Owlsgore as a hypothetical. He does have a little bit of variance because his base speed's a little bit lower, but you can technically do a very similar comp. You just have to see different speeds. I'm actually going to be building a comp around Owlsgore in the near future, so if you guys would like to see maybe an IT version of this team using Owlsgore, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I definitely want to see it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as well to the video. Subscribe to the channel. We are trying to hit our 1,000 subscribers. If you guys want to help us get there, it definitely helps out a lot. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next video. And always remember, stay ascended.
So it's 100 on the score. I'm with the same crew. So